Hey guys, welcome to the Manchester United News channel. Subscribe to the channel to not miss any news, leave your like, and share, you are very important for the growth of the channel. Let's go to the video.
Here we go on the football shows. We turn our attention to Manchester United. They left it very, very late to come from behind to beat Brentford. 2 Scott McTominay goals in added on time. When the history books of this season are written, Stephen, just how important perhaps will that prove to be for Eric Ten Hag?
It could be very important. When you're not playing well, when confidence is low, it's about getting a scruffy win. It's about getting a win by any means. They had to dig extremely deep. They were poor, really poor first half. They weren't outstanding in the second half. I think whether the Brentford players had it on their minds that they hadn't won at Old Trafford, they hadn't even scored at Old Trafford in the Premier League, and they sort of got to the point where they were getting excited about a victory. They got a little bit erratic towards the end of the game. The clearances weren't composed. There wasn't a composure about them. And Manchester United capitalised on it. And credit to them because they needed a big result.
We heard Luke Shanley in his report from the Scotland training camp today saying it's taken Eric Ten Hag a long time to work out that Scott McTominay can score goals, something he said they've known in Scotland for some time, and his pedigree at international level on that front is quite good. Does he deserve more minutes?
Well, I think he plays in a different position, doesn't he, for Scotland, a little bit further forward, that licence to get into the box. And I think it was the last throw of the dice, wasn't it, for Ten Hag? It was, we need something, let's get him on the pitch. And you've got to applaud him. You've got to applaud his sort of professionalism and desire. He's been at the club a long time to come on and go, do you know what, I'm going to make the difference today. And that's exactly what he did. And that's all you can do as a substitute. If you're not playing, you know that you're not first choice. When you do get that opportunity, try and take it. And I suppose that's all he can do, and he did that.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention to Marcus Rashford. It's a really difficult one, this one. Because is it fair to say he is not competing at the level that he knows he can play? And the terrible thing, you explain it to me, because football fans only get to see him for the 90 minutes in a game. And that seems really harsh to judge a player, because we don't know what's going on in his life.
No, not at all.
And you must have been in dressing rooms with players who you know are wonderfully gifted, but something somewhere, and I'm not suggesting there is, but we should perhaps give licence to players sometimes rather than just criticise them for what we're seeing of the 90 minutes.
It's so true. We're judging Marcus Rashford on last season, where he had that purple patch where he was unplayable, arguably one of the best players in world football at that time, where every time he stepped on a football field, he felt like he was going to score a goal, and we almost felt every time he stepped on a football field, he was going to score a goal because of the form that he was in. That is one of the most difficult things about football, in any sport, in any walk of life, is where does that confidence go? Where does that belief in yourself just disappear to? And I think it's a great question as what is going on in his life. What do we know about him? We don't know much at all. And we don't know the day in, day out of his life, whether he's suffering with anything. Last year, he looked very happy. He looked very content. He looked like he had a great relationship with the manager, with all the players, with the fans on a whole. This season, it's the slumped shoulders, it's the body language, and you do feel that there is something going on off the pitch, whether he's just suffering from a lack of confidence or whatever it is. But hopefully he's trying to do the right things behind the scenes, trying to speak to the right people. I don't think you'll find many footballers within world football who don't go through difficult periods. And no matter how good you are, how bad you are, you will always suffer at some point. I think it's recognising it and admitting it. I went through terrible periods, and it's not until after I've finished playing that I've realised that. And you look back at it and go, I wish I'd have had help. I wish I'd have had the ability for someone to say, or to almost take me out of it as well. But there's a pride thing where you don't want to take yourself out of it. You think, oh no, I can play through this, I can get better. Whereas sometimes that little bit of a break can help you work with people. I think we forget sometimes that the mind and the brain's a muscle as well. I mean, you need to train it, you need to make sure it's healthy and look after it. We always just talk about the body and training the body, don't we? So, yeah, hopefully he can get himself right, because there's not many better sights on a football pitch than Marcus Rashford running at people, scoring at goals. He's a phenomenal footballer.
Yeah, I think we've seen as well him go on patches like this, haven't we, where he's gone on unbelievable patches where he's scoring, he's assisting goals, and then he might go on another few weeks where he's, you know, not scoring, not in form. So they'll just be hoping that he gets back into that form. But I suppose you can't help but look at the disruption that he's had around him as well. You look at the left-back position, you know, injuries in there, chopping and changing. So that's bound to have a bit of an effect for him as well personally. So, yeah, we all know what a quality player he is and how key he can be for Manchester United. But at the moment, unfortunately for him, he's just not in form.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this is the case because the thing is, we don't know.
No.
But it is tomorrow is World Mental Health Day, so it's kind of an interesting time to talk about it. And I know the charity Sporting Chance, who do a lot of work with players in this field, are holding a summit this week, and maybe some answers could come out of that during this week of how best to deal with it. But for you and for your experience, when you're not in the form that you know you can be, is it better to be taken out of the limelight so you can give yourself a chance to retake, restock and go again? Or is it better to play through it and hope you can find it somehow?
I think it depends what your problem is, whether it's an off-field problem or whether it's a lack of confidence on the field. I think sometimes when it's a lack of confidence on the field, I think you need to be taken out of it. I think when it's surrounding things off the field, you might need a complete break from football. Not a complete, well, when I say a complete break, just to sort of take yourself out of football for a couple of weeks, whether that's something that the manager would allow you to do. I think there's got to be a better understanding around that with football. As I say, Rob, a lot of my issues came after football, but were a follow-on from my career, and I didn't realise I had depression within football, but until I finished playing football. And it's not until you sit down and you work with people that you realise that you did have those difficulties. Mine came when I was at Aston Villa. I suffered massively from a dip in form and really struggled to recover from it. You get fans on your back and you get a negativity in around you. You then get a lack of belief in your own ability of what you can do. You get issues off the field as well that you suppress and times become very, very difficult. But it's not until you sit down afterwards and you look back over your career and you go, God, I didn't realise that at all. And the amount of people that I've spoke to after the game who've said similar things it's incredible that it's there. More does need to be done. I think clubs are open to that. I think they understand that. I think the PFA are trying to do more. I think there still could be more that can be done, but it's definitely something that we need to look at. But not just in football, within every walk of life, within every sport that is played by all professionals as well, because we, as footballers, as sports people, we are under the microscope, and it does become with an added pressure, and that needs help as well along the way.
Yeah, and I've got to clarify again, we don't know if that's the case. We don't want to put two and two together, come up with five. But I mean, if it's not Marcus Rashford at this moment, you can guarantee that there is a footballer or a sports person somewhere who's going through it.
Yeah.
And maybe as football fans, we need to be a little bit considerate before we start throwing abuse at those players when we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think all football fans see is their performances on the pitch, but you don't necessarily know what's going on in their everyday life. So yeah, I think that's where we all have to be a little bit more understanding.
Well said, Sue.
Thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel to not miss anything. Leave your like and comment, it's very important for the channel growth. Until the next video.
Forever is the strangest thing. It's shorter than you think.